My name is Lena Morrison, and for the longest time, I believed love was supposed to feel safe. I believed marriage was a shelter where storms stayed outside. I believed promises were unbreakable. I was wrong. This is not a story about perfection. It's a story about trust, betrayal, silence, and the slow, painful journey of choosing myself. This is the story of how I lost the woman I used to be, and how I finally found her again. I met Ethan when I was 23. He was confident, kind, and had a smile that made you feel chosen. He worked as a financial consultant, always dressed sharp, always talking about our future. He made me feel like I was his plan, not an option. We married 2 years later in a small outdoor ceremony. White flowers, soft music, and promises whispered like prayers. I remember thinking, this is it. This is happiness. We moved into a modern apartment overlooking the city. I worked as a freelance graphic designer from home, while Ethan left every morning with a kiss on my forehead and a coffee in his hand. Life felt steady, predictable, safe. But slowly, small things began to change. Ethan started coming home later. His phone was always face down. When I entered the room, he would stop smiling at his screen. He blamed work stress, deadlines, clients. I believed him because trusting him was easier than questioning everything. At night, his body felt distant. He turned away instead of pulling me close. Conversations became short. Laughs disappeared. I told myself this was normal. Marriage had phases, right? Still, my heart felt restless. One evening, while we were having dinner, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly and muted it. I asked, "Everything okay?" He smiled. "Just work," but something in his eyes felt guarded. That night, as I lay awake beside him, I stared at the ceiling and wondered when love had become so quiet. I missed the warmth, the attention, the feeling of being wanted. I didn't know then that my instincts were trying to protect me. I didn't know the truth was already standing behind me, waiting to be discovered. The truth arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. Ethan had forgotten his tablet at home. I wasn't snooping. I was simply returning it to his desk when a message notification appeared on the screen. "I still feel your hands on me." My heart stopped. I stood frozen, staring at the screen as if it would disappear. My hands shook as I unlocked the tablet. What I saw next felt like knives pressed into my chest messages. Photos, voice notes. A woman named Clara. Conversations filled with desire. Jokes I'd never heard. Compliments I'd never received. He had a second life. I sat on the floor, unable to breathe. I didn't scream. I didn't cry at first. I just felt hollow, like something essential had been ripped out of me. That evening, I cooked dinner like nothing had happened. I smiled. I asked about his day. He kissed my cheek, completely unaware that my heart was breaking with every second. Later that night, when he fell asleep, I finally cried. Silent tears soaked my pillow. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? When did I stop being enough? The next day I followed him. I watched from across the street as he hugged her outside a cafe. The way he smiled at her was the smile he used to give me. In that moment, something inside me shattered beyond repair. When he came home that night, I confronted him. He denied it first. Then he went silent. Then he apologized. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said. It was a mistake, but betrayal is never a mistake. It's a choice. I locked myself in bedroom that night, listening to him cry outside the door. And for the first time since we married, I felt completely alone even with him just a few feet away. I left the next morning. I'd packed a suitcase with clothes, my laptop, and the pieces of my dignity I could still carry. I stayed with my sister, who didn't ask questions. She just hugged me and let me cry until I couldn't anymore. Days passed. Ethan called non-stop. Apologies turned into promises. Promises turned into desperation. I didn't answer. I needed silence. In that silence, something unexpected happened. I started hearing my own thoughts again. I remembered who I was before I became someone's wife, before my worth depended on someone else's attention. I went on long walks. I worked late into the night. I journaled everything: anger, sadness, confusion, hope. Some days I missed him terribly. Other days I hated him for what he took from me. One evening my sister asked me, if this were your best friend, what would you tell her to do? The answer came easily. Choose yourself. That realization hurt more than the betrayal itself, because it meant admitting how much of myself I had abandoned trying to keep the marriage alive. I met Ethan once, weeks later. He looked broken. He wanted forgiveness, therapy, another chance. I told him the truth. I still love you, I said, but I don't trust you. And without trust, love is just pain. He cried. I didn't, because something in me had finally grown stronger than fear. I moved into my own place 3 months later. It was small, quiet mine. Healing wasn't instant. Some nights I cried until my chest ached. Other nights I slept peacefully for the first time in years. Slowly the balance shifted. I started saying no without guilt. I started saying yes to myself. I rebuilt my career, my routines, my confidence. I learned that being alone didn't mean being empty. Ethan and I eventually divorced. There was no dramatic ending, just acceptance. 2 people acknowledging that love isn't enough when respect is gone. Today, I am not the woman I used to be. I am stronger, quieter, more aware. I don't rush love anymore. I don't ignore red flags. I don't shrink to keep someone comfortable. And most importantly, I trust myself. If you're listening to this and standing at the edge of a hard decision, remember this. Love should never cost you your peace. Forgiveness should never erase your self-respect. And choosing yourself is not selfish, it's survival. Sometimes losing someone is how you finally find yourself. Thank you for listening to the story. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more real, emotional stories that remind us of our worth.